Welcome to Go Bucks. It is officially game day. We've been waiting for a long time to see the Buckeyes play, even though it was just at the Akron Zips. I think we kind of learned a lot about a few things, especially at quarterback. But I was highly interested. I know you had to watch some of the game on your phone, Matt, but I was watching it here at home with my rewind and fast forward and all that. So it was pretty awesome. But real quick, before we get into that, I wanted to say, please subscribe to the channel. We greatly appreciate it. We're at about like 530 subscribes right now, and we're trying our darndest to get to 1,000. Please help us out. Please help some guys out. If you're a huge Buckeye fan, huge Wolverine fan, or you love this rivalry, hit that subscribe button. But anyway, Matt, I'm going to go to you. You're the resident Buckeye fan. I want to hear what you thought of this game.
So the defense looked really good. They had Burke had an interception. They ended with a backup getting an interception for a touchdown at the end. I think we had 2 defensive scores. And I feel bad for the quarterback on the other team. He kept getting destroyed by everybody. He was just getting pummeled. I think we had 5 sacks and didn't give up any sacks. But it just seemed like the first half it was just really jittery. Even Jeremiah Smith had his first catch opportunity was a drop, and I think they said he might have had a penalty or something. But then he went on a tear, almost had 3 touchdowns. I was going to bet Jeremiah Smith 3 touchdowns today, but unfortunately in Maryland you can't make prop bets, which sucks. So, but anyway, he got 2.8 touchdowns because he got that one where he got tackled like a yard or 2 away, and then they just ran it in with the running back. So
yeah,
the running backs looked good when there was any kind of blocking, which again, the only time there wasn't really blocking was, the whole first quarter. They weren't, it took them a while to get into a groove. Our left guard, Jackson, was not playing today. And the backup, again, this is the main problem I have with the team this year is depth at offensive line. And, just losing one player, granted, at least it was a guard and not a tackle, because I think our tackle depth is a real problem. But, we had a backup guard playing, and I'm sure that was part of the problem. But in general, I just feel like the quarterback started 0 for 4. I think some of them were just drops. He wasn't super accurate. He had the jitters. But then after the 0 for 4 start, I think he finished at 10 of his last 11. Got 3? Was it 2 touchdowns? Or I think it was 3 touchdowns, 228 yards, no interceptions.
Will Howard was solid.
Yeah, so it started a little jittery, and we didn't even really get Emeka involved at all. It was mostly just Jeremiah Smith, and then Tate had that big touchdown too. He looked fast. Wow. And and the running backs, once you give them a little bit of a crease, both of them are, they have good moves. It's just, we got, the whole season is basically just going to come down to the offensive line, and none of the tackles getting hurt basically, because that's the one area, we have generational depth. That's where Kirk Herbstreit was saying how a lot of Buckeye fans were mad at Herbstreit because he was talking about how we didn't have, we always have great talent every year. And he was sort of downplaying Urban Meyer, saying it was the best team he's seen in 10 years. I think the point Urban was making was it was just depth after depth at so many positions. So defensive line, even at linebacker, especially secondary, it's definitely the most secondary depth I think that I've seen in since I've been an Ohio State fan since '95. The depth, we've had better starters in the secondary, even though Burke's probably gonna be a first rounder. At worst, a late first rounder. We've had better corners, and Caleb is going to be a first rounder. But the depth, you could take out all the starters in the secondary. Our backup depth at secondary is the best we've ever had. We have ridiculous receiver depth, of course. I think Julian Sayin is probably going to be the backup quarterback in another 3 or 4 weeks. But yeah, just, the only real concern right now for me is, depth at offensive tackle, a little bit at guard, but I mean, we do have Carson Hinsman as a backup because he was the starter at center all last year, and now he's the backup center and backup guard. But he actually didn't play for Donovan Jackson today.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm generally a Buckeye hater, and I'll continue to be that way because it's hilarious and fun. But the thing is, I thought Will Howard looked really solid. I mean, I was looking at it; his numbers are fine. I didn't expect it. I expected them to all look solid against Akron. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but he really did look good. I thought the offensive line was a little shaky. I know Donovan Jackson was out, but ultimately the offensive line looked good too. I thought they pass protected. I think when I was looking through here, Jeremiah Smith is going to be an issue. And again, I don't want to anoint him because this is just Akron and it's his first game.
My fantasy football team name is Jeremiah Smith for Heisman before he
Yeah. He's already Marvin Harrison Jr. the way he was last year.
People don't realize Marvin Harrison didn't do anything until like the last like 2 games of his freshman year. He didn't do anything all year long his first year. And
all those 5 stars Ohio State has, and this guy is starting as a true freshman in game.
Yeah, that never happened.
No, it never happens. And he lived up to the hype too. He was a beast. And it's really, I think, Ohio State now, it really is going to come down to quarterback play in the offensive line, which is obviously huge.
100%.
Anyway. That's what it comes down for a lot of teams. But I noticed Travion Henderson started.
Look good.
Travion Henderson started the game. It seems like they got Judkins in for a huge portion of it right after Henderson started, like maybe the first drive. So they wanted to get him in, and he looked a little shaky at the beginning, but ultimately looked.
Well, he wasn't that he was shaky.
They were just playing good defense.
Neither of the running backs had any room to run for most of the first half. To be honest, it was really the second half. They had lots of holes,
and that was a problem last year. I mean, run blocking was a problem last year. I can't remember the year before. I think it was even an issue, but so that needs to be cleaned up. And I don't know if you got I don't know if you noticed this, but it didn't seem like a Ryan Day offense to me when I was watching it. It really did seem a lot like who's their offensive coordinator now? Chip Kelly. It seemed like his offense just had a brain freeze. But yeah, it seemed like a Chip Kelly offense with some of the gimmicky short plays. And what's his name? The quarterback, Will Howard. He actually looked really good on some of those intermediate throws.
Yeah.
A lot of passes were uncatchable, or the receiver dropped them in the beginning. He'd have better numbers now.
Yeah.
But they looked good. And so I think it's really just like you and I have been saying, it's going to come down to 3 games for Ohio State. That's just going to be the real test. It's going to be Oregon, Michigan, and Penn State.
Penn State, it's funny. So we thought that their receivers were going to be an issue because everyone was saying how like they haven't had anyone at receiver to really threaten you. And, they got Fleming from Ohio State went there, zero catches today. So he wasn't even, I don't even know if he played more than a few snaps. Like apparently they have some other guys that are good now. And I mean, Drew Aller had decent game. Not his stats weren't as good as Will Howard. I think he had 218 yards and a couple touchdowns. And I think one of their good running backs, Singletary, they have 2. One of them did well and got like 100 yards. The other guy got only 20. But they look good, and it was against a better team, obviously. So I mean, West Virginia. A lot of people were picking West Virginia to potentially give them a game, potentially upset them, and they smacked them good.
Well, yeah, and another thing, one thing I did notice for Will Howard, he did have some hiccups in this game. There was a 4th down conversion, and this may not have been all on Will, but I think he threw the ball late to Ibuka on a 4th down conversion, and Ibuka got blown up before he could even catch the ball. There was that, and then there was another play, and I don't know if you saw this one, but Howard had a really awkward, dumb lateral pass.
Yeah,
that threw back.
That was a horrible play.
It was hilarious because the announcers were just talking about how he has all this experience and he's just got, he's so smart from having all this like 3 or 4 years of playing, and then he went on to throw some weird lateral pass that almost got turned over.
Yeah, against a good team,
he can't do that.
That's going to be a problem.
He can't do that ever, literally ever, even against Akron. But and then one other thing I noticed too, I think Buckeyes are probably going to be happy about is the return game. Did you see that? What's his name? Innes and Jaden Ballard. I think they both averaged 20 yards or more per return.
Yeah, and they had some penalties on the returns though too, so it wasn't perfect. But Innes looked really good back there.
Yeah, Buckeyes have to be happy about that. You haven't had a return game in some years now.
Yeah, we haven't had a return for a touchdown, punt or kick return in 10 years. Jalen Marshall, last one. That's ridiculous.
Well, that's going to be huge for this team because if you've got questions at offensive line and at quarterback, I mean, an extra 10, 15 yards every time you start is huge.
Yeah, I'm happy about that. Do you want to talk about some of the other teams real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Texas looked really good
against Colorado State. I'm not accepting that. Michigan played Colorado State last year and were poked fun of, and that didn't count. So screw Texas and screw Colorado State.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's hard to tell. Like,
I'm just joking about that.
No, it's hard to tell like which team's scrubs that they're playing are better than the other team's scrubs, right? Okay, so half the teams today are playing, FCS teams, so that doesn't count at all. Like Tennessee put up like 60 points against Chattanooga, okay? And they're like, oh, well, their quarterback, he looks great now. Well, yeah, you should look great when you play, an FCS team, as long as it's not Colorado playing North Dakota State, and that's actually a good FCS team, better than a lot of the, Division I teams. But it's like, I mean, how do you compare Akron against UConn, against Colorado State? Like, nobody knows which of these teams are like really, really bad lower end teams versus like, for instance, like Western Michigan, who played Wisconsin on Friday night. They were beating Wisconsin into the fourth quarter. Wisconsin ended up winning by 2 scores, but they were losing in the fourth quarter to Western Michigan, who we happen to play next week. So that'll be actually a good gauge because they look like, I don't think Wisconsin is a great team, but I think a lot of people were very disappointed that Wisconsin wasn't able to dominate that game. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a good, sort of gauge on Ohio State and how good we are compared to, like a, much better team than Akron, right? So
true. Very true. Yeah, I know this. Georgia looked really good against Clemson. It took them a little while.
Second half,
second half.
First half, they looked like doo-doo.
Well, but Clemson has a really, really good defense. Yeah. So that's not out of the world, out of this realm that Clemson would do really good in the first half. Yeah. And then basically they just can't keep their offense. Clemson's offense is so bad.
They fell apart.
They just can't. Completely. Yeah. They can't complement their defense at all.
So the interesting thing, though, is going to be,
I think Georgia is going to be a big issue.
And Miami is going to be like the only good team now in the ACC. They beat the crap out of Florida. Florida is going to have like 4 wins this year. Their previous coach had 10 wins a season for 3 years in a row and was fired for Billy Napier, who is just like the worst coach ever. And I mean, Florida has the hardest schedule in the country. And I mean, honestly, they're going to be lucky to win 4 games this year.
Yeah. Who's the quarterback? Graham Mertz. Is Graham Mertz going to go down in history as the only quarterback to get 2 coaches fired from 2 different schools?
Yeah.
Like Graham Mertz is a real issue because if you have him on your team, he's going to be better than all of your career backups, but he's going to be just not bad enough to bench. And he's basically he's a coach killer.
Yeah, he doesn't usually throw interceptions. Like, he only had a couple all last year, but he doesn't really do a lot either,
Well, yeah.
And then, I mean, it's really surprising. Like, a lot of people were picking Miami to be really the breakout team this year, but I've just seen so many years of Miami hype that, like, I just have to see it to believe it. And Cam Ward, so he was one of the quarterbacks that we were looking at, Miami's quarterback. He had Caleb Williams type of amazing plays, like where you're like running around like crazy. You almost get sacked 3 times, and then you throw a miracle 40-yard bomb. So he makes those plays all the time, has a rocket for an arm, but he's also kind of a turnover machine, which is why I think that was the reason why I heard that we didn't go after him as hard as Howard, because Howard is, we were just looking for someone who's going to be accurate and safe, not necessarily the playmaker, also can run. Obviously Cam Ward has a higher upside, but he also can, have 3 turnovers in a game.
Yeah, he can lose you a game, an important one.
So I think that was, it's one of those things. Like, did Ryan Day screw up again, where we didn't pick JJ McCarthy, and we got, actually the same time, I think that's when we got Quinn Ewers. So that wasn't really a screw up there, because Quinn Ewers was the higher rated prospect, but Ewers ended up leaving after a year. So
yeah, I'll tell you what, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That's going to be a huge postseason conversation. If Ohio State maybe comes close to winning a national title, or or if everyone is saying, "Oh my gosh, we should have picked another quarterback. We shouldn't have taken Howard." Yeah. Then that's going to be another huge issue, that he just made the wrong decision. It's almost like Ryan Day has too many good quarterbacks to choose from, and he always picks the wrong one. But I can't say that necessarily, because CJ Stroud, but there were no other options. CJ Stroud was the obvious option. But it's just kind of gotten to be an issue, the quarterback position after CJ Stroud.
Yeah. So, I mean, the good thing is we have 5-star Julian Sayin, who's the top quarterback in this year's class by some of the rankings. And then next year we have Tavian St. Clair, who's either the number 1 or number 2 quarterback in the country, depending on which ranking you look at.
And you can't play both.
Yeah. So I bet the thing is, is Tavian going to be willing to sit a year? Most quarterbacks will sit a year, but I don't know if he's going to want to sit 2 years, right?
Yeah, very possible. Very possible. But yeah, you know what? We can jump off here pretty soon, because the Michigan game has already started, I believe. It's 7:30. And it's funny to be talking about a game while it's actually happening as it's starting. But Davis Warren is the quarterback.
To be back, but the thing that annoys me the most in football games is when you're playing a bad team and they're somehow able to just milk the clock, so you get less of your team playing. So Akron had a 6.5-minute drive where they got 0 points, but they wasted 6.5 minutes in the start of the third quarter. And I was like, well, I'm just annoyed now, because I want to see, and it was just you had a penalty here, a 4th down conversion there. And it was just, I want to see Ohio State score another touchdown, and not, just felt like they weren't quite able to make some of the stops that they needed. But the one thing I did notice, they did make they had some 4th and shorts where they were able to do the old quarterback sneak, and so that was good, because we actually have a quarterback who's big enough now to do that.
He did the Philly Eagles style Bush push. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think it's because of that slow start. Ohio State, you didn't get to see Julian Sayin come in. Throwing passes, because it's just that slow start, and because Akron, you're right, just milked the clock a little bit, and the clock just keeps running now. It doesn't stop on first down. But let's get back to Michigan real quick, because we got to jump, and I want to talk to you about Davis Warren too, because that was a shock this week that he was going to be starting. And obviously, even with Ohio State to some degree and Michigan, it's fluid right now. The offensive line has 2 starters on it, the center and the right tackle, that no one has ever heard of, essentially. Just came up and took 2 guys out that we all thought were going to be playing.
Oh, really?
And and so now then Alex Orji that was a given. He was going to be the starter.
Yeah, the NCAA,
and now Davis Warren comes
25. In. They had Alex Orji as the starter and some star player on Michigan, and now he's not even going to be the starter.
Yeah, well, we don't know. I mean, with the offensive line positions and the quarterback, it's all kind of in flux right now. Either way, we don't know what's going to happen.
Play a decent amount today.
Yeah, we don't know how they're going to play when the live.
Who is Michigan playing again?
Fresno State, who is not a pushover.
It's a semi-decent team, right?
Yeah, they were 9-4 last year. Beat Purdue and another bigger team. Not a pushover team. So yeah, this ought to be interesting. And just like Akron, they can't hold up on the line. They don't have the depth. So not worried about losing the game, but Fresno State could definitely make it interesting, especially in the first half. I'm not seeing it. I think it's playing now. So if anyone else is seeing some what's happening, don't tell me. I'm going to be rewinding and watching it on DVR. So
Nice.
Well, it's been a good day though. I mean, I think that was good news for Ohio State overall, right? I mean, I don't think that I think I would come out of that feeling positive as you possibly could.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing in a game like this is just you want to get some of the guys that have never played here some experience, get them used to playing in Ohio Stadium, playing with the headsets now, the anti Connor Stallions headsets to prevent the cheating. Get one in the books, and then the other thing is now I can just sit back and relax and actually watch some football games and not have to worry about my team. But man, I'm just happy that football's back. Oh, I forgot to say, for everyone watching, I was forced to attend the Maryland Terrapins game with Diego today, and surprisingly, this is the best I've ever seen Maryland look from all around. Like, not that anyone watching this really cares, but they won like 50-7 or something, and. I mean, the funny thing is their quarterback didn't even look great, but like just all around, the receivers were making plays. The defense looked unbelievable. Like their defense, I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I'm sure UConn is terrible, but I mean, they whooped their bad team worse than we did. So like, you got to give them props. Like they looked really good.
That's true. But anyway, I'm jumping because I need to watch the Michigan game. So it's the most wonderful time of the year. We're all happy that football's back.
Yeah.
Everyone, thanks a lot for watching. Matt, go Blue.
Go Bucks.
Have a good one.
All right.